I received a game key for House Fighters Total Mess from Starfall PR and Revulo Games for review purposes. Developed and published by Revulo Games, House Fighters Total Mess released on October 24th of 2025, joining the studio's growing line of affordable, bite-sized titles like Superbox Delivery Beyond the Horizon, Party Friends, and the Casual Sports series. Known for crafting low-cost games that lean into simple charm and kid-friendly accessibility, Revulo's latest effort follows the same philosophy. It's an aerial arcade shooter set in the cozy confines of a single home, turning bedrooms, kitchens, and garages into miniature battlegrounds. While it isn't a top-tier flight game and certainly doesn't pretend to be, there's a sincere earnestness to its toy box presentation that pulled me in. It's the kind of game younger me would have replayed endlessly, and even now, despite its rough edges, there's something undeniably endearing about its tone, pacing, and lightweight approach. The narrative is intentionally small, and that modesty mostly works in the game's favor. It opens with a kid rummaging through moving boxes, discovering an old toy plane, and sending it gliding into the hallway. From there, the player embodies Lieutenant Green, a tiny hero inside that plane, who soars through rooms and helps an assortment of fellow toys. One mission involves reuniting a robot with its missing parts. Another has you protecting block builders as they construct a track. An evil scientist lurks in the background, quietly orchestrating trouble, though the broader plot rarely takes center stage until the final mission, where the stakes escalate in a surprisingly fun way. It's all extremely light, but that's the charm. It's a short story about imagination, simple adventures, and the whimsical drama that only a child's playroom can generate. Mechanically, House Fighters Total Mess operates like an approachable, streamlined flight game. Every mission begins at the tiny airport where Lieutenant Green launches, and from there, you navigate tight indoor spaces, weaving between furniture and household objects. Controls are intentionally pared down. One button accelerates, another brakes, and the shoulder buttons handle sharp turns. A health bar and ammo meter keep combat grounded, with ammo depleting surprisingly fast unless you find pickups scattered across each room. You can collect temporary weapons, rockets, nails, and bombs, but the game rarely builds major mechanics around them. Their usage is brief, often appearing just long enough for the player to understand what they do before the mission moves on. Where the gameplay occasionally struggles is in its sense of interactivity. The bright, inviting environments suggest a sandbox full of secrets. Pianos, food cans, vases, dancing bears, guitars, yet most objects are just visual dressing. You can shoot them, but almost nothing reacts beyond cosmetic bullet decals. It gives the impression of a world begging to be toyed with, even though the game keeps the player on a narrow mission path. It's not game-breaking, but it's one of the clearest missed opportunities, especially since the theme of imagination practically begs for a more reactive environment. Combat is intentionally simple, sometimes to a fault. Aim assist does the heavy lifting, which is probably for the best given the slippery controls. The plane feels like it's flying on ice, initially charming in a toy-like way, but undeniably awkward until you acclimate. By the time I fully adjusted, the gameplay was already wrapping up. Enemies come in two varieties: agile toy planes circling the room, or stationary objects that fire at predictable intervals. Battles ultimately boil down to holding break and fire while staying vaguely pointed at your target. I never lost all my health once, mostly because the game litters generous health pickups around the room. This simplicity isn't inherently negative. This is clearly designed as an entry-level aerial combat game, not a full flight sim, but the lack of depth becomes noticeable as missions repeat. Still, the foundation here is solid. The rockets feel hefty, dropping bombs on targets is satisfying, and hitting a clean loop through a room to flank an enemy is the sort of moment where the game feels like it clicks. A sequel could absolutely build on this with more diverse foes, expanded maneuverability, and environments larger than a bedroom or kitchen. Even something like a dedicated barrel roll button or a wider outdoor space, maybe a backyard or a park, would go a long way. Visually, the game shines where it matters. The art style recalls a friendlier, slightly scrappy version of Toy Story, with bright, clean textures, bold colors, and a sheen that sells the feeling of plastic toys and glossy surfaces. Each room feels cohesive and pleasant to look at, even though some textures lack detail up close, and certain toy designs don't perfectly match the rest of the environment. Audio-wise, the game keeps things upbeat. The soundtrack is triumphant and cheerful, and while the overall mix runs a bit loud and occasionally borders on noise, the sound effects have a playful punch that works well for an arcade-style experience. The biggest drawback is how quickly House Fighter's Total Mess ends. With only 7 main missions and a handful of side tasks, the full experience can be completed in about 2 hours, even with some light exploration for collectibles like alternate paint jobs and stickers. There's no free roam mode or score attack structure after the credits, so once the missions are cleared, the game simply stops. For a low-priced title, this isn't a deal breaker, but the lack of replay value stands out, mostly because the game has the potential to host more modes, more levels, and a lot more surprises. For all its limitations, House Fighter's Total Mess delivers exactly what it sets out to be. A charming, toy-themed aerial arcade game that offers a couple of hours of lighthearted fun. I genuinely enjoyed my time with it, and even though I found myself wishing for more missions, more interactivity, and more variety, that feeling comes from a good place. The core idea is delightful, and the constant mix of objectives, from collecting map pieces to delivering items to baking a cake, keeps each segment feeling fresh. If you're buying this for younger kids, or if you simply want a relaxed little dogfighting game with a nostalgic Toy Box vibe, it's a strong value for the price. The controls take some getting used to, the combat is simple, and the world feels more static than it should, but the personality and potential shine through. It's a short, sweet, and earnest effort, and one that makes me hope Revulo Games expands this concept into something bigger next time. I give House Fighters Total Mess a 7 out of 10.